Hi, let us understand how to create a container as well as run a container and how to manage those containers. Let me go ahead and create a container. I'm going to issue the command docker container create. Now I can give a name to it, the container that I'm going to create. The name will be nginx create test. And this is the port mapping. We will understand more in detail about the port mapping as a part of networking. Anyway, I will give a quick overview on what this particular port mapping is. So this is going to create a container and it will pull the required layers and the image will get created locally and the container will get created. I can list what are all the containers available locally using the command docker container ls. The created container is not getting listed. The reason because ls will list only the running containers. I can list all the containers using the option -a. Here I will have the containers in all state will get listed. So I do have the container nginx create test and which is in the created state. Let me go ahead and create another container which will be in the running state. Docker container run, and I'm going to run it in the detached mode. We will see what this detached mode is. Name, I'm going to give it as nginx run test, and the port, it will be in the detached port 6061. Earlier we mapped the port 6060 to the port 80 of the container. Here I am mapping the port 6061 of the host to the port 80. I cannot map the same port to two different containers. We will see that in detail now. So the container got created and it will be in the running state. This time it did not download the image because the image will be already existing. So using that image, the container got created. Let me go ahead and list them. Docker container ls-e. So I do have two containers, nginx run test, which is in the running state, and another container which is in the created state. So what did we do? We had a host machine, and the host will be having n number of ports which can be utilized. In our case, we utilized the port 6060 that is mapped to a container, and the name of the container we had given is nginx create test. By default, the nginx will be running in the port 80. That's how the Docker file was created. And we mapped the port 80 of this specific container to this particular port. And later we created another container in the name nginx run test. Again, that will be running in the port 80, and I mapped that particular port 80 to the 6061 of this particular host. So what that means is I cannot map the same port to two different containers or two different ports underlying within it. And this is a very basic, simple networking configuration. There are some advanced configurations. As a part of networking concepts, we will be seeing them in detail. This particular understanding is sufficient enough to proceed further in understanding the details about containers and all other concepts. So the container is started, and so I do have a container in the created state and another container in the running state. Now let me go ahead and create a container by using the same port of this specific host and see what happens. Let me go ahead and run a container. Let me say run test 2. And I'm going to map the same port 6061 to the port 80 of this particular container. So what will happen? The container will get created and then it will try to start, but it cannot bind to this specific port. So it will go back to the stop state. Let me list the containers available. So it just got created but couldn't start, and so it got stopped. Now I can go ahead and remove these containers or prune the container, kill the container, that is taking it to different state that we will be seeing it as a part of the next lecture. So here we had seen how to create a container and then run it, or how to run a container directly. And any container which is created directly, I can go ahead and start the container using the command docker container start nginx create test. It got started. Let me go ahead and check the status of the container. So it is up and running. Now, once this particular container is started, I can go ahead and verify in that specific port of the host. So within this particular host, let me go ahead and check the port configurations. Let me add the port custom TCP. Add the port 6060 from everyone. Another rule custom TCP 6061 from anywhere. Now let me go ahead and access this particular DNS in the port 6060. The engine should be up and running, and the same thing is true with the port 6061. So we have successfully created a container, as well as we created a container directly into this run state. That is, internally it will get created and it will take it to the run state, as well as we started a container which we created and how to list the containers, as well as at the very high level we had seen how to map the ports.